In this video, I'm going to be discussing a method to create a simple tunic using a t-shirt as a reference. Now I want to go ahead and say that this is not how a tunic would have been constructed in the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, they used much narrower cloth than what is available now, and they would have constructed a tunic from many pieces to get as much use out of the cloth as possible. This method results in a tunic made from a single piece of cloth that only requires a couple of seams to be put together. Now I'd like to take a couple minutes to talk about picking the right t-shirt to use as a reference for making your tunic. You want to use a t-shirt that fits well. You don't want to be swimming in it, but you also don't want it to fit very tightly or be a form-fitting or compression type shirt. There are a couple measurements that you may want to take before getting started, but it's not strictly necessary. I've made tunics like this just eyeballing it, and it's worked out well. The first measurement you may want to take is the distance from the armpit seam of the shirt down to your waist. This is going to be a few inches shorter than the length of the shirt from the bottom of the shirt to the armpit seam. You may also want to take the measurement from the shoulder seam to wherever it is on your arm that you'd like the tunic sleeve to reach. If you'd like to have a short sleeve tunic, maybe you measure to about your elbow. If you want a long sleeve tunic, you're going to want to measure to your wrist. The last measurement that you may want to take is the circumference of your arm wherever you want the end of the tunic sleeve to stop. So again, if you want a short sleeve tunic, you may want to measure your bicep, or if you want a long sleeve tunic, you may want to measure around your wrist. This is a piece of paper that I've cut to represent a 2-yard length of a 60-inch wide cloth. Most cloth that you're going to buy from the fabric store is going to come in 58-inch to 60-inch widths. You'll occasionally run into things like 45 inches, and you can use a cloth like that if you really like it to make this tunic, but it's going to require a few extra steps. In order to lay out your tunic, you're going to take this piece of cloth and you're going to fold it to give you a 36-inch by 60-inch wide rectangle. You're then going to fold it again so you have a 36 by 30-inch rectangle. You're then going to take your t-shirt and you're going to fold it in half. And you're going to lay your t-shirt on your fabric so that the top of the t-shirt, the shoulder area, is going to be at this double fold. And the fold of the t-shirt is going to lay along the fold of the fabric. Then what you're going to do, once you have your t-shirt preferably pinned to your fabric, is I like to start at the armpit here, and you're going to go out an inch or so from the armpit of the t-shirt and make a mark. You're then going to bring a line down until about where your waist is. This is where you're going to use that measurement from the armpit seam to your waist if you took it. You can, if you want, continue straight down and cut that. But then when you put the tunic together, you're going to need to leave this open. Otherwise, you're going to have a very, very hard time moving around in your tunic. What I prefer to do is to swing it out like this and then bring the bottom hem of the tunic around like that. That gives you a lot more room for movement, like running, jumping, fighting, whatever you're planning on doing in your tunic. You're then going to want to note where the shoulder seam is in your shirt, especially if you took a wrist or elbow to shoulder seam measurement. And you're going to want to make sure that this length is greater to or equal than the measurement that you took. Because what you're going to do is you're going to bring a line out like this, and that's going to form your sleeve. Now, if you're a short to average height person, or a person with short arms, you may be able to get the whole length of the arm just like this. If you have long arms or you're a taller person, there's a couple different things you can do to make sure your sleeve is the right length, and I'll be going over that later in the video. Now that you have your tunic laid out, you're going to go ahead and cut your fabric. When you cut your fabric, you're going to get something that looks like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to open it up. And that's going to be the body of your tunic. At this point, you're going to want to put a hole for your head in. There's a couple different styles of neckline you can use. My favorite type is a keyhole neckline. And what that is all it's going to be is going to be a circle with a little slit at the bottom of it. Now, when you're placing a keyhole neckline, an important thing to remember is that you don't want to center the hole on this fold, because that's going to make the front of the neckline creep up and the back of the neckline creep down. It's going to be choking you. If you look at the t-shirt, you can see that the front of the head hole comes down lower than the back. So you're going to want to imitate that with your keyhole neckline. So a good rule of thumb is that you want 1/3 of the hole for your head behind the shoulder fold and 2/3 in front of it. So what that's going to do is give you something that looks something like that. And then you'll then make a slit to give yourself enough room to get your head through. Once you got that cut out, you're going to have something like this. Now, I'm not going to, in this video, go into facing a neckline. It's a little more complicated than I want to get into in this video, so I'm going to link to a tutorial in the description of the video. But once you have this, you can go ahead and fold right there, and then all you have to do is run a seam down the arm, down the side, and down the skirts on both sides, hem up the bottom, hem the sleeves, and you've got yourself a tunic. Now, you remember earlier I talked about that you may have to go through a few additional steps if you have longer arms or you're a tall person and you just need a little more length here. So what you can do, the easiest thing to do, would be to just make a short sleeve tunic. And that's going to go the same way as your long sleeve tunic. You're going to lay everything out the same way. Only instead of extending the arm all the way out here, you're just going to cut it off. And then you would go through all the same steps that I showed previously, where you fold it, unfold it, cut the head hole, and then sew everything up. But suppose that you really want a long sleeve tunic. There's a couple different things you can do. If you're just a couple inches off, what you may be able to do is, before sewing up the side seams, you may be able to add just a little bit of contrasting fabric to your sleeves. And it'll just look like trim. And you can also trim, the bottom and the neck hole. And no one will know that you did it just because you needed a few more inches. And it'll just look very fancy. Another option, if you need more than a few inches or you don't want to do a contrasting trim, is to take your short sleeve tunic and take a little bit of the fabric that you have left over and cut the rest of the arm out. like that. And then what you'll do is you'll stitch that on before closing up your side seam and everything else. So you'll pretty much have the same tunic as before, only this time you'll have a seam across the elbow. And you can hide that with trim, or you could make it detachable if you like and have lace-on sleeves. You can do a couple different things, but that's a way to get a little extra length in the arms. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you go ahead and make a tunic. It's a lot of fun. It's a good sewing project. And please let me know if you have any questions.